Now, in Marvel games and stories, team-ups between iconic characters often lead to heightened abilities and exclusive powers, representing the synergy and chemistry of their partnerships. And in the context of Marvel Rivals, these team-ups introduce special mechanics that enhance gameplay and reflect the dynamic relationship between characters. And what I have for you today is the only and ultimate Marvel Rivals synergy guide you will ever need. And if you do like this type of content, or if you enjoy any of my other content on this channel, do me a favor of hitting that subscribe button. It's one of the best ways to actually help me out, and it makes a tremendous difference. But nevertheless, I hope you sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Now, the first section of this video is the team up ability section, where I'll be explaining all of the team up abilities, what the best team up abilities actually are, and the best use. Now, after further researching, one of the top team up abilities is actually Invisible Woman and Mr. Fantastic, and that's none other than the Fantastic Force. Now, Invisible Woman is set as the anchor character, meaning to have this team up ability, Invisible Woman needs to be on the battlefield. Now, this will make a lot more sense when the other members of the Fantastic Four are actually in the game. But basically how it would work is that if you had Mr. Fantastic and the Thing in a match, they wouldn't have a team up ability. When someone picks Invisible Woman on your team, then you would receive the team up ability, if that makes sense. But for right now, this is her team up ability. The Invisible Woman taps into her powers, channeling Psionic Might to fortify the entire Fantastic Four team. This formidable force bolsters Mr. Fantastic, granting damage resistance. Once activated, they can continually generate bonus health, making up for the lost health with each passing moment. Now, that's not all, but the team up bonus for Invisible Woman, she actually receives a 15% healing boost, which is quite literally insane. Now, most often than not, you don't really see this team up ability because there's a really niche amount of players actually playing Mr. Fantastic. Now, despite saying that, I think if you have an Invisible Woman on your team and you still have a damage or a Vanguard spot open on your team, then I would really encourage you to play Mr. Fantastic, mainly because of that 15% healing boost, which makes a huge difference, especially in sustained fights. And how I see it, you should probably get used to this team up ability, especially with the Thing and Human Torch coming to the game soon. And because of that, it's definitely a S tier team up, and because they synergize extremely well, even though that's a surprise to really nobody. For the next team up ability, we have Hela, and she teams up with Thor and Loki in Ragnarok Rebirth. Now, this ability literally lets you revive Thor and Loki as a duelist. Now, while it's only two characters, giving your Vanguard and Strategist a chance to revive quickly, especially when you're the duelist, and it's incredibly powerful. Now, no other team up ability in the entire game gives bonus revives for non-strategist characters. But wait, there's more. This team up ability also gives Hela 15% damage boost, which allows you to pretty much delete anyone on the enemy team in a matter of seconds. Now, if Loki and Thor are still alive in the current fight, and they didn't die for a little bit, they will receive bonus health, making them a whole lot tankier. Now, this synergy honestly makes sense. They all synergize fairly well with one another, and depending on your playstyle, this team comp can actually be pretty good. Now, Thor, after the recent buffs, is definitely a more stronger Vanguard pick than what he used to be. Then you have Hela, and Hela is still very strong, probably still S tier. And you have Loki, a very solid strategist, especially if you copy the right ultimates. You have a Vanguard applying pressure in the front line, you have a duelist dealing damage from the middle of your team, then you have a strategist healing up your team. It's the perfect synergy. I don't know where you would really go wrong with picking this up. With that being said, they are definitely an S tier and something that should definitely be used. Now, for a more damage focused team up, we have none other than the Punisher and Winter Soldier with their team up ability Rocket Raccoon and Ammo Overload. Now, giving your already high damage duelist the ability to never reload while shooting faster is a crazy recipe for domination. Now, the Punisher already can mow down enemies by himself. Now, nevertheless, that boost makes him and Winter Soldier incredibly deadly and difficult to fight against. And it's definitely a major factor, especially with the current meta of triple strategists. Having a very solid Punisher player paired with a Rocket Raccoon and then two other strategists literally just means a free win. Well, most of the time. With that being said, I think their team up and synergy kind of go hand in hand. They all work extremely well together. You have a strategist providing healing, armor, a respawn, a jump boost, and infinite ammo to some of the highest damage characters in the entire game. And I don't really see where any of the synergy can actually be lacking at. And that's why Ammo Overload is definitely a S tier team up ability, and it's definitely one of, or the best Marvel Rivals synergies in the entire game. Now, for the sake of this video, if you think the title is a little misleading, I completely understand, but I feel like synergy in the terms of Marvel Rivals and that team up ability kind of go hand in hand. But of course, later on in the video, I'll talk a lot better about the synergy. Now, Gamma Charge is another team up that gives existing moves more damage for Bruce Banner, Iron Man, and Doctor Strange, with of course Bruce Banner as the anchor. Now, what makes this team up S tier over the other A tier team-ups. It's all because of the strength of the existing moves. Now, Doctor Strange and Iron Man's base abilities are already pretty strong and definitely worth using. Now, this team-up is especially strong, that if you see a Hulk in play, chances are that there's always going to be an Iron Man or Hulk with him. Now, for whatever reason, if you don't really think it's a strong team-up ability, then I'm honestly not sure if we're playing the same game, because most of the time in Diamond and Up lobbies, Bruce Banner is usually the first man banned. Now, for Iron Man, the team-up ability gives Gamma Overdrive. It's basically Iron Man uses Armor Overdrive, he'll initiate a Gamma upgrade. It lasts for 10 seconds, and it provides him a significant damage boost, allowing Iron Man to practically melt anybody on the other team. Again, Bruce Banner is the team-up anchor, so if Bruce Banner is banned or if he's not picked, then a team-up ability won't work with just Iron Man and Doctor Strange. And just because of the sheer raw amount of damage it provides all these characters and the frequency of how much Bruce Banner is banned, in my opinion, this team-up ability, there's no way it's not S-pick. You could debate for A if you wanted to, but I really don't see it. Now, last but not least is Lunar Force, utilizing Moon Knight with Cloak and Dagger. Now, this team-up ability, I'm a little bit on the fence with. I'm not really sure where it should be placed, either being placed in S or being placed in a high A. I think it sits somewhere in between. But basically, this team-up ability lets Moon Knight activate an invisibility bubble he can spawn at will. This ability allows you to really mess with your opponent because you can be in the bubble and attacking at the same time, and it won't push you out of the invis. You could use it some type of get out of free jail card, you could use it to get a very easy one-shot, or you can even use it to allow you to place the perfect ultimate. Now, the reason why I say it's a very good team-up ability, it's mainly for Cloak and Dagger. Now, after the recent buffs to Cloak and Dagger is probably one of the best strategists in the entire game with the insane healing output, the insane ultimate, and just the sheer survivability. I say this because the team-up ability gives Cloak and Dagger the passive from shadow to light ability. And basically what it does is it grants 15% healing boost to Cloak and Dagger, which is insane because this duo already heals for a ton. Did you feel like it was already hard enough trying to kill someone on the enemy team when they have a Cloak and Dagger? Well, think again, you're never getting an Elam ever again. With that being said, I definitely hover them between S and A, leaning more towards the S category, as Cloak and Dagger is getting played a ton and is definitely an S healer. And the synergy of these characters, definitely makes sense, so that's also something to know. Now we move into our A tier of team-up abilities. Now the first one is definitely debatable, but we have from another Guardian of the Galaxy Center team-up, we have Mantis, Star-Lord, and Adam Warlock called Guardian Revival. It's a simple passive ability that lets Mantis and Star-Lord self-revive like Adam Warlock. Now his revive can come in handy to surprise return to battle to resurrect your team with his ultimate. With that being said, Mantis and Star-Lord don't always need to have a revive like Adam Warlock since they can't resurrect the team. With that being said though, there are some situations where that revive can make the difference in your team in keeping their much needed healer or DPS player. I will say this team-up ability is very situational, and it all depends on the players you have, and if you have someone willing to actually play Adam Warlock, of course. And its synergy makes sense why these characters would work with one another. It's pretty self-explanatory. Again, it definitely is a team-up ability that has potential of being, very good, but for right now, I'm just placing it in the A tier. Again, it's all situational based. Now for this next team-up ability, I can't believe I'm saying this, but is ESU Alumnus. It matches Spider-Man and Squirrel Girl for a team-up. It gives Squirrel Girl a new active ability that lets her throw a new projectile to trap enemies. Another free ability that gives you more consistent flexibility is a strong ability to have. Now this pick is a little bit controversial, mainly because Spider-Man isn't, amazing right now, and Squirrel Girl is also kind of in the same boat as him, not amazing. They're definitely solid picks, but of course they're not amazing. But with that being said, if they do team up, the ability that Squirrel Girl gets is actually hilarious, and it's definitely very annoying to play against, because it's essentially having someone who can already throw some type of stun or, movement block or whatever, then getting another one on top of that for free. And because you have an ability that replenishes one of your active abilities, you could essentially lock someone and spawn forever. I see it more as a hilarious tool rather than, an effective tool. Now the next two team-up abilities share a common factor, so that's why I'm placing them together. And that is, of course, free bonus damage on already existing moves. For the first one, you have Chilling Charisma for Luna Snow, Jeff the Landshark, and Namor. Now, this team-up ability grants Namor with Frozen Spawn. Basically, he gets to summon an icy octopus that works just like his other turrets, but it also slows enemies, and can definitely be annoying to play into, especially if you're a dive character on the other team. Now, not only that, it also grants an ability to Jeff the Landshark, and that is Frozen Spitball, but it replaces his alternative attack Aqua Burst, and this Frozen Spitball also slows enemies, which can definitely be a very annoying thing to play against, but most of the time Luna Snow is usually getting banned in, higher elo because of the triple strategist meta currently going around. Now with that being said, because Luna Snow is the anchor for this team up ability, she's given the passive Icy Disco, where she gets a 15% healing boost passive, which again can be very beneficial to your team. Now typically, if Luna Snow isn't banned in your match, you really want to run this team up ability, especially if the enemy team has some sort of dive composition or dive enemies like Black Panther or Psylocke, anyone that's really going to be annoying your backline. And the synergy when playing these characters is also extremely well, because you could put, your octopus turrets near Luna Snow to try to help her if she's getting dived by an enemy, and there's really not a better way to say just how well they work together. Now staying on the relatively same topic of the free bonus damage on existing moves, we have the team up Voltaic Union, using Thor, Storm, and Captain America. First and foremost for this team up ability, Thor is the anchor, so you need to have a Thor in your team so you can properly utilize this team up ability. But for Storm, she's granted another ability. That ability is Charged Gale. It deals 55 damage and it bounces 3 times. It's kind of using like Chain Lightning from Star Wars in a way. It's only down here because it isn't the strongest thing in the world. And another major factor is because Storm is pretty much getting perma-banned, so you'll probably rarely ever see it. Now because of that, a hero who actually benefits from this is definitely Captain America, because most of the time no one's really banning Captain America. With that being said, Captain America is also granted another ability, and that is Charged Aegis. But basically when Captain America activates this ability, he gains a movement boost, and his shield is embedded with thunder power, electrocuting nearby enemies. And I definitely believe this is kind of a slept on team up ability, because a majority of the time most players are not playing Captain America and Thor together. It's usually replaced by, a Doctor Strange or Magneto. With that being said, I think if you get a Thor main and a Captain America main together and they play with each other, that doesn't sound right, but I'm pretty sure they would have a pretty fun time. And that's definitely why they should be placed in A tier. Now next up we have none other than Symbiote Bond. It's a team up ability with Venom, Spider-Man, and Penny Parker. Now its best usage is with Spider-Man since he gets close to the fight, but you need your Vanguards up close as well to deal enough damage. Now most of the time, most competitive Spider-Man players use this as a finisher for combos to give him just a little extra damage output in order to secure the kill. Now Penny Parker isn't a brawler, but she doesn't benefit from close quarters combat. However, this new ability can get opponents off of you so that you can push them towards your mines or into a more favorable range. Basically, if you're playing Penny, it grants you damage reduction when you activate the ability. It deals 50 damage on release in an area, followed by 50 damage per second. I mean, for Spider-Man and Venom players that, play together and coordinate well with one another, it's definitely a very strong team-up ability, of course in the right hands. There's countless videos, for example, like Necros playing with Andrew, doing very coordinated dives and practically one-shotting the enemies. So again, in the right hands, this team-up ability is definitely strong. Now, I will say from what I've seen from a majority of the players, they don't really use this team-up ability, mainly because they don't know how to utilize it to its full potential, and because Spider-Man isn't the best right now. So with that being said, this is definitely placed in the A category. And the synergy, makes sense. They're all the Spider-Verse, so, it makes sense. Now, for a more brawler-centric team-up, we have Magic, who combos with Black Panther and Psylocke. These characters already thrive on bringing unpredictability and aggressive playstyle, so letting them teleport away and gain health at the push of a button is extremely strong. Now, it's definitely a strong ability, but first and foremost, you have to have a Magic player on your team. If you don't have a Magic player on your team, then you can't really pull this off as she is the anchor, and if you get a random person to swap to Magic, chances are if they don't know the character, they're gonna go 0-10. With that being said, don't let me play Magic. And all the synergy of these characters do make sense, but again, later in the video I'll go more in depth. Now for our last A tier team up ability, honestly it's Metallic Chaos. It's anchored by Scarlet Witch, who gives Magneto a special sword to swing at enemies. It's a very simple attack, but it's a strong one that elevates Magneto to a much higher performance level. Now I actually believe this team up ability is extremely strong. It lets Magneto do an unfathomable amount of damage, and it just allows him to apply a ton of pressure. The problem is though, is that Scarlet Witch is never picked. No one ever plays this character, so you never get to use this ability as Magneto. Now, even if you're playing Magneto and you ask for Scarlet Witch, chances are no one's gonna pick her, simply for the fact that Scarlet Witch doesn't do that much damage as a duelist. It's not really worth the sacrifice of dropping a duelist just to give Magneto this team-up ability. With that being said, I hope they do something for Scarlet Witch so that she's played more often, so Magneto players actually get to have a little bit more fun. Now, I think it sits perfectly fine around the A tier because of the sheer amount of damage you can do with it, but for the fact of the characters that are needed, for the team up, it's definitely on the lower end, as well as the team up ability and synergy makes complete sense for these two characters, and I don't think anything really needs to be tweaked with it. You could probably add characters to make the team up more special, but for now, that's all we have. Now, if you're enjoying the video so far, make sure to subscribe. Now comes our B tier team up abilities, and these ones were a little more difficult to pick and choose, but for the first team up ability, we have Planet X Pals. Now, I believe that Planet X Pals is a great example of a B tier team up. This works with a Groot, allowing Jeff the Landshark and Rocket Raccoon to ride on his shoulders for some damage reduction. I will say, don't get me wrong, this ability is very situational. Your strategist can use it without needing Groot to accept it. They can jump on, heal, or attack who they need to and jump off when it makes sense. Now, it's not used a whole lot, so it's definitely more situational, but as the meta is progressing, we're starting to see a huge rise of Rocket players, and Groot is starting to get picked more and more. I think this team up ability could be moved up a level potentially, but not really, because all it really provides is damage reduction for a single person. Next up, we have Atlas Bound. Now, this was a difficult choice to make. Atlas Bound is a team up with Iron Fist and Luna Snow. This gives Luna Snow a new active ability that can be used offensively and as a heal. However, Iron Fist doesn't get anything out of this ability, which makes it a very one-sided thing. And I will say Luna already has plenty of healing options, and I can say for sure that nobody is picking Iron Fist specifically for the healing ability for Luna. But I will say extra healing is still good though, so it isn't C tier. Now lastly, we have our C tier team ups. Now these are all debatable, which is perfectly fine, but I'm just going for a majority pick of what players have selected. Now for arguably one of the worst team ups in the entire game, it's Bruce Banner and Wolverine. They have the Fastball Special. The only way to use this is for both Wolverine and Hulk to both engage the ability, which means both players need to stop fighting. The payoff is simply throwing Wolverine with a lunge attack. It's honestly the most complicated team up and the worst payoff. No new abilities are unlocked and nothing enhanced. It's a team up ability you almost always ignore and never try to utilize. Now with that being said, there are exceptions to make this, work, but most of the time it's just not a good team up ability. Now an ability to increase damage output is Hawkeye and Black Widow's allied agents. This lets Black Widow have a mini version of Hawkeye's ultimate ability. Shooting the after image of opponents lets you finish off evasive opponents and lock in difficult kills. Now Black Widow getting her own version of it will naturally make for a top tier team up ability in theory. Unfortunately, Black Widow just isn't a good character, and typically you really never run into two snipers in the same team comp. And since Hawkeye gets really nothing out of it, you are basically running two snipers just so Black Widow becomes slightly more playable. Now with all that being said, there are some exceptions of where players actually utilize this team ability very well, and that's a very small niche portion. And again, I'm just going for the majority stance. With that being said, this team ability is definitely C tier, and it's definitely not that good. But that wraps up the tier list team up portion of the video. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you agree or disagree? I'm always inclined to hear what you have to say. Now, when it comes to these synergy bonuses, in Marvel Rivals, usually it's about how the characters interact with one another and what are paired well best together. But if you're looking at this outside of Marvel Rivals and just the universe in general, how they paired it well is depending on the characters' relationships. Certain pairings may provide specialized bonuses. For example, a mentor-student relationship might enhance strategic abilities, while a rivalry could boost offensive stats. And I firmly believe in Marvel Rivals, they've definitely taken the right approach when it comes to this team-up ability. And although some may be stronger than others, that's just the nature or genre of this game. But I feel like since they have this team up ability, it's really opened the door for a lot of heroes to come to this game. But basically, the title of this video is the Ultimate Synergy Guide. And because of that, I did a whole bunch of researching, and the best way synergy is explained in Marvel Rivals is literally the team up abilities, so that's really all I can tell you about. But hopefully this video has helped you in some sort of way, whether that be learning something new, or maybe bettering yourself by choosing the right team up in Marvel Rivals. But regardless, if you found this video entertaining, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. I hope you have a great day, and I'll catch you in the next one.